Hello there. So welcome back. There's lots happening since my last video, and most notably I am now down 7% of my portfolio, which is not necessarily good news, but there are a couple of reasons for that, and so I'm looking forward to jumping into those a little bit in the video, as well as sharing with you what I've been doing in terms of buying and selling, sharing a little bit of progress with you in terms of my key learnings and actually doing something about that. And then finally talking a little bit about what I'm planning for going forward and how I'm moving my investment strategy forward as I learn more and more. So firstly, the markets are down. On my last video, which was about 2 months ago, I think I was saying that there had been a rocky patch and we had recovered. Since then, it hasn't been smooth sailing. So I was averaging just around 0 or 1% in terms of gains, and most recently in about the last week or so I am now down about -7%. I'm not panicking though, because there's a couple of reasons. So I've done a few things. Firstly, I've sold Tesla and I've sold Peloton, and I've increased my investment in NIO. So firstly, Tesla. So if you've seen any of my previous videos, you will know that I'm quite interested in Tesla and what they're doing. However, there's been a lot of talk about how Tesla is overvalued, how it's reached its peak, and how it's going to start to decline. I did notice after they announced their earnings for the last quarter, the stock price actually dropped. And then there's a lot of things in the news right now about Elon Musk, which are not positive for the company. Of course, Tesla is always a company who can bounce back, but I made the decision to sell. I only had 2.5 shares, but that's significant for me with my small portfolio. I sold at about $707, and in the last couple of days since I've done that, the price has actually dropped to around $685 or so. So for now, I'm quite comfortable and happy with my decision. And who knows, maybe I'll get back in at another time. Similarly, Peloton Interactive is a company who I had invested in for the last couple of months. The motivation for this was really around the pandemic and people changing their habits to start working out at home and potentially investing in their own equipment. So I had noticed that Peloton was, after an initial surge from where I purchased it, slowly declining. And so I made the decision to sell maybe about 2 weeks ago. In doing so, I think I actually only broke even on the price where I bought, which is about 105. However, I have been watching the stock since I sold it just out of curiosity, and it has continued to drop and is now below $100. So again, happy with my decision for now, and it may be something that I look to in the future again. The one thing I've invested more in recently in this kind of downturn of prices is NIO. So as I mentioned, I am very interested in the electric vehicle makers, and I do still think that there's going to be huge upside for this. So considering what I've been reading in the news about NIO and their plans to continue their development into Europe, I think it's going to be an interesting time to watch this space. So I've just slightly increased my investment in NIO for now, and let's see what happens. In documenting this journey, it's really important for me to use this to hold myself accountable to things that I'm learning along the way. And so the first thing that I have learned is that it's important to have a cash reserve. In a recent update, I mentioned that I wasn't able to capitalize on the lower prices in the market due to not having any available cash. So I've spent the last couple of weeks rectifying that situation, which means I've been adding small amounts into my investment portfolio, but holding it as cash and actually not making an investment, which has been really, really difficult. However, I've been able to increase my cash reserve from 0 to about $500, which again is a very small amount, but it's significant for me right now because it has moved me from the situation where I wasn't able to be reactive to the markets, whereas now I am, at least to a small degree. So going forward, I hope to hold at least $500 and always be ready if something particularly interesting happens and I want to capitalize on it. So the next thing I want to look at is how I want to move forward from here. And I mentioned in my recent updates that I am employing a buy and hold strategy. I believe in the stocks that I have selected, and I want to keep building on those as opposed to purchasing more and more stocks, just due to the fact that it's harder to see a good return if you are very diversified. However, I also understand that it's really important to diversify. And so most recently, the strategy I've come up with in order to be able to do both of these things is to continue with my buy and hold and to add more to the current stocks that I've purchased, but also to diversify by purchasing companies or stocks that provide dividends. Now, there's a couple of reasons for this, but essentially, by having dividend paying stocks, I am creating a source of income as those dividends are paid out on a regular basis. I am reducing the risk because generally dividend paying stocks are very well established companies such as 3M or Lowe's, and so they're much less volatile. And it also allows me to diversify, as I said, but in a way that is quite low risk. So I know that there's going to be a number of things I need to consider when purchasing dividend paying stocks. For me right now, what's in my mind is the potential return and the yield that they're paying out on. But I've no doubt that there's other things that I will need to consider as well. And so what I'm going to do is focus on my research in this area. And hopefully by the next update, I'll be able to provide you with some information on how I made my decisions. And from there, we can see if they actually pay off or not. And in conclusion, I just want to share with you where my portfolio is right now. So you can see as we scroll through the companies that I am invested in and the number of shares I have in each. Still a very conservative portfolio, but I'm really happy with how it's progressing. I really appreciate you dropping by to take a look at this update, and I look forward to seeing you again.